by myself. Okay, continue, it's recording progress. So I felt so awkward talking to myself for about 45 minutes. And I was like, Colleen, this time, can we let the audience engage so I can answer some questions? Because if not, I'm just yapping by myself. So you guys are more than welcome to engage and ask me questions throughout the presentation. We did some polls as well. I'm going to go ahead and share screen. Another thing is I have Zoom fright. I don't know if there's a word for it. I think I came up with that. I hate Zoom presentations. I have Zoom fright. So it helps me if if the audience is engaging, so I don't have to sit here and have so much anxiety of presenting. So today, yes, go
Vanessa,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Just let me know when you want me to launch polls and which one. Okay?
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. So today's presentation is building a social media strategy. And this is specifically for designers, builders, and contractors. Today, we'll be breaking down a few things, but overall, I'll be helping you brainstorm an actionable strategy for your company's social media channels. The reason why I decided to do this was because last time we had the presentation for Social Media 101 with AIA, it seemed like a lot of the audience were either designers, builders, and contractors, and they had a lot of questions. So I thought, let me do this presentation so that I can help with this specific crowd, which mostly AIA and MCAD targets too. Okay, so Colleen, can you ask the first poll before I go into it as far as how many of the audience is either a designer or a contractor? I think we had set up that question. Okay, so in today's agenda, by the end of the session, you will understand, plan, build, test, and refine your social media.
Hold on a minute. That one I hadn't done, but I can do that really quick. What did you want to ask? What is
How
your...
many people in the audience are actual designers, if they're architects, if they're interior designers, if they're engineers, landscape, so on. I just want to know a little bit of the audience. So as I go with the presentation, I can kind of target some stuff more specific to the audience.
Okay, I'll launch that in just a moment.
Okay, so first, social media is critical. If you were here for the last presentation, you're going to recognize this slide, which I'm just including it in the beginning because it's so important. So social media is not just a marketing tool. There are about 3.5 billion social media users, which equates to about 45% of the population. So that right there shows you how many people are using social media. 81% of the US population has at least one social media profile, and over half have two or more. So when I say over 81%, over 81% of you have just Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook. And over half of that have either Instagram, Facebook, or two or more. 54% of social browsers use social media to research products. Okay, here we go. So that's the question. It's asking me the question.
Answer.
Other. Okay, submit. So back to where I was, sorry. So 54% of social browsers use social media to research a product, which I myself am guilty. I use Instagram and I always research products a lot in my social media. I always go into different platforms depending what I'm looking for. If I want to read reviews or if I want to know more about the business, I do use social media. Now, 71% of consumers who have had a positive experience with a brand on social media are likely to recommend a brand to their friends and family. That's also true. I can say for me specifically, makeup, if I bought something and I'm obsessed with it, my mom and I are always sharing and I tell her, oh my gosh, I found this on social media. You have to buy this concealer. You have to buy this foundation. So it just shows you that people really are referring. If they buy something, they're recommending it. The social media statistics uncovers an average of 3 hours that are spent a day per person. Oh, here we go. So 53% of you guys are architects. That's good to know. We have 7% engineers and supplier 13% and 27% other. Okay, good. So I'll try to keep that in mind as I continue with the slides. So now that I know who's watching. Okay, so the social media uncovers an average of 3 hours. if you don't believe me, I think whoever has an iPhone and is watching this, you can actually go onto your screen and see how much time you are spending in social media. And I'm pretty sure you're going to see a number that might shock you or maybe not. You might see it and you might be like, oh my gosh, I spend that long. But it's true, we are spending a lot of time hooked onto our screens. And social media is one of the only, so the next point I'm going to make, I'm going to go back to it later in the slide, but social media is one of the only marketing channels that can expose you to over 1,000 people for less than $3. And you get to track exactly who those people were and what actions they took upon that. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that last point later on in one of the last slides, but this is something that I want you to remember, that you can actually expose yourself to over 1,000 people less than $3. All right, next slide. Phase 1, understand. Understanding is very, very important. And this is something that is very important if you're watching this presentation, because before you can come up with a strategy, you need to understand your target audience. You need to consider the nature of your business. Is your company a B2B, which is business to business, or are you a B2C company, which is very important? And the reason why it's very important is because each platform is going to depend on what type of business you have. So when I speak to my clients, most importantly, if they're a business to company, so B2C, I already know that LinkedIn is very powerful because that's where they're going to target other companies. Now, if you're a business to business, you might want to use another platform. And this is something that with experience, I can calculate a good guess, knowing by working with my clients, I can already come up with what your platform is going to be. However, this is something, if you're trying for first time and you're doing it on your own, this is something that you might have to learn through trial. Okay. Let's see, I went back. Sorry about that. So the ABCs of social media marketing. So I like to say the ABCs because these are the 3 important points with social media. First of all, awareness. Get your people interested. You want brand awareness. It's the level of recognition and association of a potential customer towards your product and services. I put, for example, if you want a cold drink, you automatically think, chances are that you'll think of Pepsi or Coke. And that's because that brand already has that recognition. You already are aware of that brand, so you already think of it. So you want to create a brand awareness. So when people already think of, for example, I'm thinking I want to build this, they already have an architect in mind because that architect already has brand awareness. They've already created that recognition. Brand loyalty, get people convinced. So you want to make sure that you have, for example, your audience, that they're loyal to you. So they're going to keep coming back to your brand. So you need to differentiate in this sense, and you need to build that loyalty so they keep coming to you, and why this is the reason they're not going to your competitor. So it's very important to build brand loyalty because you want your consumers to keep coming back to you and not going to your competition. Community. You need to get people engaged. You need to build a business. Engaging your community is a primary way to build bigger business and gain new customers. I can't emphasize enough on community and getting people engaged. So when we think of social media, I always think back to something more traditional to compare it to my clients. When you build a community, think of, for example, you're building friendships, you're building relationships. If you're someone that gets a lot of phone calls on your birthday, I'm sure it's not a coincidence that people just call you. I'm pretty sure you're the type of person that constantly calls your friends and calls them on their birthdays, and that's why they're calling back. So now in the social media world, that's just an example. It translates to, you're expecting a lot of likes and you're expecting a lot of comments, but if you're not out there liking other people's pages, if you're not out there commenting on other people's pages, you can't expect then to create that community, build that community and get people engaged. So you have to think about it as you're building a community, you want to engage with other people, with other companies, with colleagues. And most importantly, Remember, it's a community over competition. I always tell my clients that we're building a community. If you're looking out for a colleague, another architect, this is a community we're building, and it's important. And that's why this last one, community, is so important to me, because this is what's going to build your business the most, I think. Okay, Colleen, is there any questions so far? Colleen?
I don't see anything yet. Did you want me to launch one of the other polls? Or do you want to
Yes,
ask?
I do have a question coming up. So pick your platforms. So picking your platform, as you can see, how I said in the beginning, picking your platform is very important. For me, with experience, I'm kind of already able, once I sit down with my client, already know what platform is going to work, but it's very important to know what platform to pick. And I actually put in this slide house, because I get that question very often. So I want to ask Colleen, how many of the audience, or how many people in the audience, have heard of house or use house? I'm very interested in knowing that.
So do you want me to launch the poll?
Yes, sure.
Okay, and I spelled house wrong. I didn't know house had Z's in it.
Oh, no, no worries. And that's okay, because maybe you hadn't heard of it before. So I may seem a little bit all over the place, but it's because I have so much information and I want to give you so much, but I have so little time. So it's, with these presentations, it's always a little difficult for me to organize it, because I just feel like I have so much to give. So please, if you have any questions, or I lost you at some point, please let us know. So the reason, oh, I see you spelled it house. I see it. Answer.
I've never heard of it.
Okay, I'm just gonna put yes. So the reason why I include house is because I know this presentation is specifically for designers and contractors. This is a question I get a lot. So house, if you haven't heard of it, I actually dedicated my next slide to house. House is basically a hub for interior designers, remodelers, contractors, dealers, and homeowners. So the question is basically, what is house? Should I be on house, is what I get all the time. Well, now going back to the first slide, is your business a business to business, or is your business to consumer? If, oh, here we go. Facebook house, 18%. Okay, so some of you are on house. If your business is to consumer, then I say yes, absolutely use house, because house is for homeowners. So usually you don't have other businesses going on house. Once in a while it might, but majority is homeowners. So for example, if I'm a homeowner and I'm looking for someone to do my flooring or my tiles, I'm gonna go on house, because I want to read the reviews. There's images. It's basically a LinkedIn for homeowners. So you want to use this house to promote your business if you are definitely a business to consumer, because a lot of homeowners are using house. It's great to share reviews. It's all about home improvement. So if that answers your question, that's what I tell my clients. First, are you a business to business or business to consumer? Business to consumer, I would definitely look into house. If you haven't, you should definitely look into it. I hope that answers your question.
There's a question. Let me see what they're asking. What about Architizer? Want something called ARCHITIZER.
I haven't really looked into Architizer. I've heard of it. So I can't specifically talk too much about Architizer. I can, if you can take down the email of the person, I can respond to them on Architizer.
Sure. And then another question says the majority here seem to be architects, not interior designers. Is house good for projects beyond interiors?
I think it is. As you can see here, it says contractors. There's different. What I would do is, my recommendation is going on house and researching specific, because there's so many people in this chat that I can't like sit down one-on-one, and everyone's so different. I think when this presentation ends, if you're attending the presentation, I would definitely go on house after, research it a little bit, and see if it's something that you think will suit you. I honestly, I would have to sit down and look at it one-on-one with each business and see if it's something that will help you. Okay, next slide. Okay. So first, create a content calendar. So once you've picked your platforms, and now I'm going to reverse a little bit so we can continue. So what I went through was a few of the platforms. We saw LinkedIn, we saw that there was Pinterest, Facebook, House. Once we picked the actual platform, what you want to do is get organized. It's so important in order to grow. You want to do something and stick to it. And there's no better way than sticking to something if you have a plan. And that plan has to incorporate a content calendar. So a content calendar looks like this. At my agency, we use a spreadsheet, and it's very easy. You get organized, and on that spreadsheet, you're going to put in for every weekday what platform is going to post what. It's very, very important to get organized, because once you start your content calendar, you already know what you need to post next. Instead of going on there every day and just randomly just posting, that's not going to work out for you. It might work out the few first posts, but after a while it'll catch up to you. You need to have a content calendar, you need to be organized, and you need to have a plan. Okay, so phase 3. Phase 3 is the build. Where do we start? This is actually, I would say my expertise is in building and creating content. So this is where the fun starts, I think. Now that you have picked your platforms, you created your content calendar, now it's time to really build all that content and put it out there. And this is where we're going to start brainstorming, because these are ideas for architects, for designers, for contractors, and whatnot. So I think since a majority are architects, I think we'll talk a little bit more of architect. And coincidentally, I've used GA as an example here, which will be a great example for architects. So show off your work is very important. What is your audience mostly interested? Well, they want to see your work. Of course, that's very important. Now, I tell my clients, if you want to show your work and you just want to put pictures of your projects and finished work, that's what you have your website for. I mean, it's very, you go on any website and you can see pictures of projects. So this is where you have to use the social media the most to your benefit, which is you want to show off your work. And in social media, you get to show it off in a very different way. And that's where you can actually get creative. So it's very important to show your before and afters. For example, I wrote here, from brickwork framing, site progress to interior installations. Progress is always fun to watch, keeps your followers engaged in your company, and does a great job of showcasing ongoing projects. It's not a coincidence, again, I'm going to say it's not a coincidence why so many before and after TV shows or the makeovers, they get so many ratings. People love to see before and after images. People love to see before and after videos. People love to see the process of it. And this is where you can actually show it the most on social media, showing your process, showing your before, your afters. So remember, just don't post just the final product, always do the before and after. So creating, let me pause this because it's gonna get, okay, perfect. So creating engaging content. So for example, creating engaging context, you wanna share tips and how-to videos. It may seem like a bad idea because it gives away tips on the services you actually charge for. If you think about it, a lot of people are like, well, I can't put all that out there because that's what I charge for. But no, this is, however, the exact way to build trust between your company and your audience, by educating them. If they see this, they're going to see how you work, how your projects are, your process, and this is what they're going to think of. And when they need someone, they're automatically going to think, oh, I'm going to go back to that one because it's who I saw that I liked this project on a video or whatnot. So for example, I'm going to take DDS CAD as an example. So when you create engaging content or you do the how-to videos, do remember to cross-post your videos on IGTV, your blog, and other social media platforms like YouTube to increase your audience. So for example, DDS CAD, they have a blog on their website, and that's one of the most engaging content because people go on there to learn about Autodesk, the programs. So the website gets the most traffic from this blog that we've created that goes on YouTube, and now it sends back a lot of video views and it sends back traffic to the website. So by creating this blog where they're actually giving tutorials, instead of thinking like, oh, okay, we're giving this out for free, we should be charging it. That's not the mentality. Instead, you think, wow, this is bringing in a lot of people to our website. So these tutorials on these YouTube channels are actually giving more exposure, and your brand is out there and people are actually referring to it or going back to it or recommending it, or not, or recommending it, most likely recommending it. And that's what you want. Now, when creating engaging content, this is where I think I also specialize the most, because I didn't really introduce myself, but my degree is in journalism, in broadcast journalism. And this is where I think my investigative reporting comes in when I sit down with my clients and we think of content to produce. This is where I think everyone should maybe become an investigative reporter, to think outside the box and think of content. So when you look at other architect websites or other architect social media, you want to make sure you're covering things that are exclusive. So as a reporter, or I say reporter because I studied broadcast, I look at it as, what's the exclusive that I can give through social media that other architects aren't giving? What can I write? So I enjoy writing. I love writing copy and coming up with ideas and content. So these are things, this is my thought process. What are things that I can give to the audience that other architects aren't putting out there? What are things that we can cover? So for example, things that are very easy in creating content that you might want to think outside the box. How many people are following my page that aren't architects, that are maybe students? What can I put out there? So for example, GA's must read books for design students. So we did a list and we recommended books to design students, that are to design students to read. And these books are recommended by the designers in the firm. So that's, for example, a content idea. I have so many, but I'm just writing, I'm putting out a few examples, just so you can start thinking outside the box. You want to think as an architect, what kind of things people would be interested in. So you have to start thinking as an architect, as far as like content, putting out what people are really interested, what material, for example, I just off the top of my head, limestone. Let's do a piece on limestone. Why are we using limestone, or what's sustainable? So you have to kind of think outside the box with creating content. And then you can make how-to videos with your content, which are great. How I showed you with DDS CAD, for example, the YouTube channel. I have a construction company that, just as an example, 5 things you must do before you tender, and they have a YouTube video. And then I have an example of just a post with like design books recommended for design students. And this can go on and I can go on talking about content. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Team spotlight. Team spotlight is very important. Showcase team spotlight. So I'm sure some of you recognize Christian Vidal. I hope he doesn't mind that I use him as an example, but regularly featuring your team on social media is important. It's adding a personal touch. So I'm pretty sure some of you saw this next slide and you're already kind of are familiarized with it because it's a face that you recognized. A lot of you know Christian, so you're already drawn to it. You already want to know, what's this slide about? Oh, in conversations with Christian Vidal. So team spotlight is very important because I think you get to know a lot about a company when you get to know the team and who works within that company. You get to know the culture of that business. And it's very important to do a team spotlight. So when you do a team spotlight, you have to think of engaging conversations with them or questions that you can ask them, things that people might want to know. So for example, here's the piece we did. I didn't write down his answers to not be so personal, but I gave some examples of, for example, things you would ask a team member. What is your role as VP of G Alvarez Studio? Can you tell us more about your design background? Describe your creative process. Where do you find your inspiration? So when it comes to team spotlight, think of questions that someone is wants to know about that person that's not in the company. Maybe, for example, this is an architect firm. I'm very interested in knowing what kind of software do they use. Do they use AutoCAD? They use Autodesk? So you have to think a little bit more outside the box, as you not so generic questions or where are you from. Think more like, if I'm an architect, I'm a student, what do I want to ask this architect or this designer that is really interesting to me? What kind of things will differentiate him from another architect? What does he bring to the table, or what does she bring to the table? And this is where you can really spotlight that. Colleen, is there any questions?
I had someone who shared the link to Architizer, but no questions at this point.
Got it. Okay, company updates. So you want to use social media to give company, let me move this for a minute, to give company updates. So there's so many things happening in your construction or design company. So this is so in social media, sorry, I'm moving my thing because it's blocking my view. So for example, there's always things happening in your company, and you have to share this. It's very important. If you're hiring, which I'm going to take a minute before I continue, because this is a great example of picking your platform. Let's say your post is about hiring. If you're hiring, this is why I said it's important to pick your platform. Now, if you're hiring and you already know that you're going to create a post for hiring, when you create that content calendar, where are you going to post this ad? Well, where do you think you're going to get the most response from a post that says it's hiring? So I would recommend, because of my experience, LinkedIn. If you're hiring, go to LinkedIn, post it on LinkedIn. The reason why I mirror some of my posts, so meaning I'll create the same post and it will go on several, is because I know at the end I'm going to get the most. I'm just talking about, let's say, the hiring post. I'm going to get the most results from LinkedIn for a hiring post. However, because I've built a community in Instagram, I'm going to still post it on Instagram, because there's someone there that is in my community that might know someone that might be interested. But I'm already posting it on Instagram knowing that my results are going to come more from LinkedIn, because I already know that this post is more geared towards LinkedIn, because it's not, because of the whole business to business, and how each platform is different. However, we'll still mirror it, because I know that maybe in my community, maybe there is someone that follows me that knows an architect that's looking for a job. So we still mirror this post, but then again, you already know what platform to expect the most results from. So you want to constantly update people on social media. So for example, if you're hiring, if someone new joined the team and you want to introduce them, if you just got a contract, a milestone, if you got a new truck for the company, if you're attending a conference, if you're sponsoring an event, all this is important to post on social media. You want to make sure you use it for news updates. And this is where it's going to be different from your website, because most people don't go on your website to get constant updates. Instagram is so fast. It's just easy. It's in your hands and you can just see these constant updates. So for example, Twitter is good for updates as well. And that's when it goes into the different platforms. But it's very important to keep them always up to date. Okay. Let me move this. Give a shout out. Okay. This is also very, very important with designers. You want to make sure you're showing your subcontractors, manufacturers, or vendors that you care about them too. It's very important to post on stories, giving them shout outs, using your vendors and naming them. If you posted a project and you used a specific company for the stairs, if you used a specific company, another business for the laminates, for the turf, make sure you're giving them a shout out, because when you give them a shout out, they're going to repost it and then you're getting more exposure. So if you're making sure to shout out your vendors, they're going to go on their social media and they're going to repost it. And then they're going to be like, oh, they worked with this architect. And that's how you're going to start getting more exposure. It's also important as an artist. I think I see designers as artists. I think it's very important you kind of recognize that level of respect to when you post a picture, a photograph, to credit that photographer. So you want to make sure you're giving them, it's almost like etiquette. You want to make sure you're doing what you want in return. And if I was an artist and I have someone post my artwork or my photography, I want them to give me credit because it's etiquette. And it's very important for to recognize these other subcontractors, manufacturers, or vendors, because this is how you're also going to build a community. You're going on there, you're liking their stuff. So it's never, how I say, it's never competition, it's a community you're building. So think collaboration versus competition. You're not competing with them, you're not competing with anyone. This is building a community. It's the more you give back, the more you'll get back. The more you give, the more you'll get back. So it's very, very important to always give them a shout out. Make sure you tag them, make sure you put them on your story, make sure you mention them, and always give them credit if you worked with them, or if you're using a photographer, the photographer is very important to give them credit as well.
We have a question here that I could answer pretty easily too, and it's, do you think showing off team members gives other companies a desire for them, leading them to want to take them? I mean, my answer for that is if your people are happy and you're showing them off and you're telling people how wonderful they are, they're going to want to stay with you. I mean, what do you think?
I agree, Colleen. I think there's no problem in showing your team members. I think it shows about your culture. And if you show a team member, they should be happy and they want to work where they are. That's you want to love what you do, so you want to be happy where you work. So I think no, I wouldn't be scared as owning an agency and having a team. I wouldn't be embarrassed to. I mean, I wouldn't be worried about that. I think my team loves working with me, so I'd want to, if anything, show them off. So next one, celebrate holidays. So celebrating holidays is it's a great excuse for content, but there's a catch to it. And this is where I think the content, creating content is important. So instead of just creating content where it's like, instead of just writing copy to the effect of happy whatever the holiday is from your company, and you just put a watermark here, I say again, think outside the box. You don't want to just say happy Earth Day because everyone's doing it. Saying happy Earth Day, hashtag happy Earth Day, and then they just put happy Earth Day and then the watermark. So you want to go further. In social media, you need to show you're putting effort, because if not, you're just posting to post. And if you're posting to post, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. So instead of just posting happy Earth Day, I'll give you an example. I went further and said, okay, so for Earth Day, we're going to create a post and we're going to do DA's top picks in sustainable architecture. So then we created a post about sustainable architecture, and it was in honor of Earth Day. So then we created this post, and in that post, we're tagging, yeah. Oh, sorry, Colleen, I thought you were talking. We're tagging other architects. So now this post is creating more engagement. More people are reposting it, because it's not just a post that says Happy Earth Day with a watermark. No, there's actually content, and it's relatable content, and it's content that people want to share. So now this is what I said again, collaboration over competition. You're mentioning other architects, because it's okay to mention other architects, because these are architects that you recognize that they did great jobs in sustainable architecture. So another example, Perkinsville, their social media, they did for the holidays, for Christmas, they did a contest, an internal contest with building a gingerbread house. So instead of just putting Merry Christmas or whatever the holiday is, they said, let's engage, let's create building a gingerbread contest. Well, building architecture, so it relates with architecture. They created a post, and it's about building a gingerbread, and it's a contest. So you have people engaging, you have people sharing. So now it's not only just a happy or Merry Christmas and just a watermark. And sometimes you don't have to be so specific. So for example, let me move this. It could be something that you just bring in let me move this, that you just put in an image and then you just use copy. So I wrote for Cinco de Mayo, holy guacamole, let's talk about how stunning this space is. Happy Cinco de Mayo. So I didn't create a whole post on Cinco de Mayo because I was like, well, what are we going to post for Cinco de Mayo? But let's acknowledge the holiday. And guess what? I got comments about, oh, about the wording or the copy. Oh, I like your play on words. So then it started creating comments, and people liked that we actually acknowledged that it was Cinco de Mayo and we just used something funny. Holy guacamole, let's talk about it. All right, so that's for celebrate holidays. Remember, this is an excuse to get creative, so use the holidays to your advantage. Okay, phase 4, create ads, create an ads budget. Okay, so create an ads budget is something that's always a little bit difficult to talk about with my clients, because no one really wants to pay to advertise on social media, and it's something that it's a little difficult to get clients to do. But why is it so important? For starters, organic reach is down across most of the major networks. The days of simply posting on social media and expecting all your followers to see are over. So, okay, so I'm going to take a minute to slow down here and talk about this one, because this one is very, very important. Back then, there was a time where you can just post to post. But if you are actively on social media, you already are aware that your post is not getting that exposure, it's not getting that engagement that it used to. Now, the reason why this happened is because Facebook is controlling how many people see your post through algorithms. Why? Because they want you to pay. And if you pay, then you'll get that engagement. Then you'll get the followers. I mean, then you'll get all the views that they want you to get. So they did this in a way to make sure that people are paying, that businesses, because if you're using their platforms, well, they need something in return. So this is where they get us, paid advertisement. So that is one thing I always emphasize with my clients. It doesn't matter if you're a small, medium, or large company. It is so important to put some money towards your posts. I can't say enough that posting to posting does not work. You can create a post and you can just post, but it's not going to get very far. It'll only get as far as your followers that are already following you, or your community that you've already built. And even then, with the algorithms, sometimes even your own followers do not see it. And I think this is something which was more difficult to explain back then, but I think now people are starting to see it more. So I don't really have to explain it as much, because I think people that are actively on social media are starting to see, like, oh, why did my likes go down? Well, before I used to post and I used to get so many likes. Now I don't get that many likes. Or when you're looking at a social, like an Instagram feed, you'll even notice yourself that there's posts that you totally missed that never even came up. And then you go to that person's account and they're like, oh, wait, I never saw that post. Oh, wait, I never saw that post. Why? Because the algorithms, they control the algorithm, and it's changed where they're controlling it so we're not seeing all the posts. Now, this gets even trickier, because in the past 6 to 9 months, it got even worse, because now, besides Facebook, we also have iPhones with privacy policies, the privacy policy updates. So now we have even less engagement, because everyone's aware of the privacy and the privacy issues. So from a personal standpoint, I've watched Social Dilemma. I'm pretty sure some of you have watched Social Dilemma. I don't want to share my information. It really, I don't like that they know so much about me and whatnot. But from a company point of view in a business, it's when you're paying, it's kind of hard now because you're like, well, I'm paying, but I want to target that audience. If you're an architect, you want to make sure you're targeting, if you're a local architect, you want to make sure you're targeting, okay, South Florida, people from this age to this age, people that are searching, whatever it is your firm specializes in. If it's retail spaces, if it's home, if you're an architect that does home, you want to make sure that you can target that. So it's kind of like there's two sides to this. There's the one side from a personal, I don't want to give them some information, and then there's the other side as a business. You want to kind of have some control over that target audience. So paid advertisement is very, very important. Why wouldn't you not put a little bit of money towards a post if you're guaranteed to get so much more exposure? For instance, I just moved into a new apartment and I'm looking for furniture. I'm furniture shopping, which everything's out of stock right now. So all of a sudden, I start getting ads on my Instagram everywhere. West Elm. I get Pottery Barn. I get all of a sudden I'm getting all these, furniture stores. So if you can control something where that person is looking for that exact product or that specific service, why not put money towards your ads if you're going to target them? Because guess what? I did click on the West Elm and I did want that coffee table, but they knew because I've been searching. So if you have so much control over something, why not put a small budget or a budget into something that's going to get so much exposure versus not putting anything at all? So, for example, another thing is some clients are stuck on the traditional where they would pay $2,000 for an editorial in a magazine. Well, that magazine gets thrown on a coffee table and they might not even look at that ad. But why not put, $500 on a post, or if you have a smaller budget on a post where you can target that specific person and they're going to for sure guaranteed look at it. And if they've been searching that product or that service, it's going to come up. So I think this is where I can't say enough how important it is to put some sort of ad, create an ads budget into your post, because if not, you're just posting to post. And if you want to see results, paid advertising is the most important thing in order to get further more engagement, more reach, more traffic. This is where I think this is the most important, where as a if you're a business, you have to put money into it. Another thing is, how many times have you not even searched? This is actually very creepy. You haven't even searched for something, but you talked about something. I said, oh my gosh, my allergies are so bad. And I just said it to someone. And then within like 5 minutes, I get an ad for Zyrtec. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that is crazy. My phone has a microphone. I think it's crazy, but as a business, it makes sense. Zyrtec is very smart. I just mentioned I have allergies and here's Zyrtec. Okay, well, maybe Zyrtec will help. So yes, I can't can't stress the importance of how important it is to put some money into your social media. Okay, next one. Colleen, are we good?
Yep, nothing else new there. Everything's good.
Okay, so test and refine. After you've picked your platforms, you did your content calendar, you put out all this and all this content, which the content section I can go on and on about because there's always so much content we can produce. But now it's phase 5, which is the test and refine. Test and refine is very, very important because if you're doing all this and you don't go back and revisit your numbers, then what was the point of it at all? And this is where you're going to go back and you're going to look at everything and then you're going to revisit and improve it. And these numbers are going to help you improve it. So as an agency, we use software where all my platforms that I use will come out all in one report and I can compare them all. But if you're doing it on your own, each platform has a section where you can see your insights, your metrics, your views, your clicks, your comments, your shares, your reach. And it's very important if you're posting to go back to this. And I'll give you an example. If you go on Instagram and you check on insights, you'll be able to see after you've posted for, I would say maybe start checking it, like you have to be very consistent. So maybe after 3 months, 90 days, go back and see at what time are your viewers actively are active on social media. At what time are you getting the most views? So for example, now you take that insight, that information, and when you do your content calendar, you're scheduling your posts. My viewers are always on between 11 and 12. So now we've improved it because I know that my viewers, most of my audience is on here between 11 to 12. So that those metric that those results from posting and posting, they're going to help me improve because now I'm not just posting, now I'm posting at a specific time because I know that they're there specifically. And it's so specifically that it's so specific that it'll tell you Monday each day. So it could be Monday from 11 to 12. It could be Tuesday from 2 to 3, which is very interesting when you start seeing all these results and all the metrics. It's very, very interesting. It'll also tell you your demographics. Are they, 49% are men? It'll tell you the age range. So then when you create these posts, now that you have these test results, you can put more, you can create better posts because now you're saying, okay, wow, mostly men. What can I do to change my post so I can start targeting women? I'm going to change the creative on this post. I'm going to gear it a little bit towards women because I see that my audience is mostly men, but my product, I think it's better if it's geared more towards women. So this information is very, very important for you to revisit these numbers and really take into consideration everything these numbers are telling you. Then it'll help you tweak and optimize your plan over time. It's very, very important. And it's very interesting to see this. Sometimes it'll surprise you. All right. So any questions?
No, we don't have anything right now.
Okay. So I think the next slide, I'm pretty much done. Basically, how did we do with time, Colleen? Because I didn't want to be on here too. I didn't want to keep people too long.
It's 10 minutes till, so you can take questions now. You have 10 minutes if you'd like
Okay.
to. Oh, wait, I have a question. Oh, wait, here we go. Here's a question. Do you trust in Instagram/Facebook metrics? Do you use any app?
I use software. So since I have an agency, I pay for software. However, if you're doing it on your own, yes, you can trust Instagram's insights. You can trust Facebook. They'll give you um, accurate insights. You can trust them. The reason why I use software is because I have several clients and I can't physically log on to each account. I can't physically log into each account for each. I mean, each client, let's say, has 3 to 4 platforms. It'd be impossible. So I need software to really facilitate that process for me. It just makes it easier to see all the numbers together under each one. It's better organized, but there's no reason why someone can't if they're just running one account. If they're just running their own company, there's no reason why they can't. It's fairly easy to just go on the insights for each one. Thank you, Colleen.
Uh-huh. Does anybody else have any questions? Wait, what in your opinion on effectiveness of stories versus quality posts if you do not engage in paid ads?
Okay, can you repeat that?
I didn't really understand it. Okay, what is your opinion on effectiveness of stories versus quality posts if you don't engage in paid advertising? I think maybe stories versus posts.
And stories. What is your, repeat the beginning?
What is your opinion on the effectiveness of, I think it's stories versus posts. That
It's
must be Facebook.
post.
Yeah.
I think stories are very important. People seem to like live things. I think I want to say we're in a time where people aren't trusting posts as much as live or stories because we've seen a lot of people edit everything, has so much work put into it when you post something. And I feel like people enjoy stories because they're more genuine, they're more organic, and it seems like they're more trustworthy, versus posts. People, I think the stories, it depends what you're selling, but I would say stories are very, very important. If you're not paying advertisement, definitely do stories. I think they're very engaging, and I think it's a great way to organically reach your customers, consumers. And I think it's because of that people are liking the live, people are liking the stories. However, I would say about the stories, if you're going to create stories, make sure you're creating engaging stories that are different from your posts.
The next question is any specific recommendations on attracting luxury clients? The business is a niche business.
Yes, actually, paid advertisement, 100%. That's so specific. So you want to do paid advertisement because when it's luxury, you want to target the right audience. I mean, if you're just posting to post and a bunch of people are seeing it, and that's not the luxury clientele, then you're just posting to post. So a luxury, 100%, you need to do paid advertisement because you want to target that exact the exact demographics in that audience. And also hashtags will only get you so far. So hashtags are great, but they will only get you so far. And there's so much hashtagging that your content might get lost in that hashtag. You can go into a hashtag right now and just see for yourself. If you put a hashtag and then you'll see there's so much and it's constantly renewing on the feed. So I would say 100% paid advertisement for luxury.
That's all. Anybody else have any other questions? Oh wait, how about buying followers?
Okay, so this is always fun. Buying followers. Most accounts are bot followers. Most accounts have bot followers. But here's what I tell my clients. This is a great example because if you live in Miami, it's like if you're an artist and you rent out an art gallery, especially in Miami. You see it's open bar. You have 1,000 people show up to your art gallery. The room is packed. There's so many people. Oh my gosh, press is there. Everyone's there. There's so much people. Everyone's, oh wow, it's such a huge event. Okay, the exhibit is over. How many people bought your art piece? Or how many people bought your art? Oh well, I think one person bought something. So what was the point of filling up the art gallery with 1,000 people? Well, of course, in Miami, free booze, everyone comes. But what was the point of filling up your room with so many followers if no one bought anything? So, for example, if you just care about a presence and you just want to look like you have a lot of followers, sure, buy followers because that's what people will see. But are you really looking for leads? Then, if you're really looking for leads, your main concern or the followers shouldn't be a priority. Your priority is your leads. How many people that are following you are actually purchasing your product or referring your product or your services? How many people are actually referring you? So don't get so caught up in the followers. You can buy followers just so it looks like there's a lot of followers, but it's very easy to tell that they're fake followers. First of all, it's very, very easy. And second of all, what does it matter? So think quality versus quantity. If you have 500 followers, but you're so busy, you have so many clients, people are referring you, what do you care if people see that you have 10,000 followers on your Instagram? It's very cheap to purchase followers. So if you want to, you can always purchase followers, but don't expect that to give you results. Buying followers is not going to give you results if that answers your question.
Well, that was great. And I learned so much, except I have a question for you, and I feel really dumb asking. What is a watermark? You were saying something with a watermark.
Oh, so for example, just your logo. So spread media right there on top where the water is, that's a watermark where the ocean is. Just like
Uh-huh.
so just putting your logo. So like let's say Happy Holidays from Spread Media. I'm just putting Happy Holidays and then my logo on it. So I took a stock image of like a Happy Holiday picture and then I just put Spread Media.
Okay. It wasn't some embedded thing that lets you follow stuff or whatever.
No, no,
Okay.
it's just like the watermark, the logo, the brand. It was just a way of an example of saying so many companies do that. They'll just put holidays and then they'll just put spread media, but instead you want to create some engaging content around that holiday. So it attracts more engagement, people share it, and then it differentiates.
Hmm.
It's not just a normal post.
Well, my boss, Cheryl Jacobs, always likes these to end right on time, so we're getting close. And I wanted to thank you so much. This has really been a fascinating and very in-depth presentation. And, some people might think you're crazy for giving away all these big secrets, but all of you, sometimes you can't do this alone and you need somebody like Vanessa. So I'm doing a little commercial for her. But how can people get a hold of you if they need to get a hold of you?
Sharing my information there. I really appreciate if you thought the presentation was informative, please leave us a review, a Google review. That's really appreciated. And then I'm only going to do this for this specific presentation, and it's because since I worked with AIA and MCAD, I've absolutely enjoy working with architects, designers, and everyone in this field. If you are in this presentation, if you're in the audience, I'm going to do an offer at $200 off. So if you email me and you say you were in the presentation, I'll give you that offer. So we'll do the $200 off of my services.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. That's
And I
wonderful.
really enjoy working with artists. It's been so much fun. I really, really enjoy it.
Well, everyone, we've come to the end of our time. It's 1 o'clock straight up. Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, everyone, for joining us. I will be sending out the link to a short survey just so we can improve our overall programming or see what you thought or give props to Vanessa. So look for the little survey in your email, and I will have the link to this video recording. It'll be on the MCAT and AIA web pages. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it, Vanessa. Have a
My
great day, everybody. Thank you.
pleasure.